Welcome to 30 Minutes of Faith. We're very pleased to have Reverend Christine Martin from The Experience with us. She and I have been friends for some years, and it's a pleasure to have her with us. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Now, tell us about The Experience, first of all, because I'm really anxious to hear how things are going.
Well, the experience was started in 2009 by Dr. Reverend David Thompson, who was at one point the president of the Interfaith Service Bureau.
Longtime friend.
Longtime friend. He wanted to have a place where different faith traditions could worship together and find a way for the different traditions to share company on a service. His desire was to see that we build bridges between the different faith traditions and that those bridges build understanding and friendship.
How many people are meeting with you?
About 30.
And would it be sort of 30 different faiths?
It's a variety of faiths. We did a kind of getting to know you. As you know, John, I just started there August 1st. And so in early September, we had a getting to know you service. And we asked the question, what kind of faiths did we have there? And we had Christian, Buddhist, Jewish, pagan, Wiccan, earth-based.
Good. Good. They're coming to church.
It's a very eclectic group that comes to the experience.
Now, how did you come to the experience personally as the replacement for David?
Through you. You may not know this story, but I volunteered to work on the Interfaith Conference. That was a couple of years ago with you. And I was doing the biographies, getting people's biographies for the speakers, and one of them was David Thompson. And then I ran into him personally at the 100th anniversary for the Interfaith Service Bureau. And we got to talking, and I told him that I was in Interfaith Seminary. And so we got together and had coffee, and he said, you know, I want to retire, and I think you should take over the directorship and the pastorship of this group.
Way to go. Way to go.
It was surprising.
Now let's back up for a minute. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Martinez, California. I'm a third-generation Contra Costa Countian.
Are your parents still alive?
No, both of them have passed.
And you have siblings?
I have a brother, but he also passed in 1990, quite some time ago.
Do you have a best friend?
I do. I have a wonderful best friend whose name happens to be Christine.
Oh, cool.
So when we go places, the Christines go out.
Very, very good. What were you doing before you decided to do this?
I have been a healthcare administrator for 40 years and I was the director of the free clinic here in Sacramento all the way back to when it was called the Aquarian Effort, not the Effort. I worked in state government in healthcare for about 27 or 28 years, half of that in the Department of Health Services, working in Medi-Cal, half of that in the Department of Corrections, working in healthcare and corrections. I retired from state service and took a job as the executive director of a nonprofit organization that helps organizations put in telemedicine programs. And I have been doing telemedicine developments for 16 years.
Now, did you graduate from high school in Martinez?
No, I graduated from high school in Walnut Creek. We moved to Walnut Creek when I was in the 4th grade.
So how did you get from out of high school in Walnut Creek to Sacramento?
I came here to go to school. My first career was in laboratory science. I'm a clinical laboratory scientist, and I worked at Sutter General Hospital. And after I finished school, I went to Sac State, and after I finished school, I thought I was going to go back to Walnut Creek, but I just never went. I liked Sacramento. I liked the diversity that was in Sacramento, and I decided to stay.
I really like Sacramento. It's, you're 90 minutes from the snow, 90 minutes from the ocean, you're out in the orchards, you're a whole bunch of other things. You can get very small town in 10 more minutes, you can get down to the inner city and all of those other things. Now, what's your feeling these days? Maybe I should ask, were you raised in a God-fearing home?
I was raised in a Catholic home.
and pray and go to church and
Pray and
all
go to
those sort of
church.
things?
Yes, I'm Italian heritage, and so we had a big Italian family, and yes, we went to church
And did you keep going to church through high school and college and those things?
through high school. When I got to college, I had a time where I started to look at what my faith was and saw it. It was probably the beginning roots of my interest in interfaith and inner spirituality. I found myself looking at the different kinds of worship and the different kinds of philosophies and beliefs. And so there were a number of years where I took off on my own, became, as I call it, spiritually independent.
Many do.
Many do.
You know, as you know, I go to a lot of services and meetings and things, and there are so many similarities. It's just incredible. I know the world, will say, well, he or she is this faith, and that makes them different from this faith, and, I guess I'll say fair enough, but if they understood the similarities, it just would dazzle them. Now, do you have hobbies? What are you doing when you have some free time?
A couple of things. I am a singer, and for a
I
number
didn't know that.
yes, for a number of years I had an a cappella quintet that was called Two Tone Shoes. We haven't been together for a number of years, but one of these days some kind of singing will gel back up. And I also am an artist. I do mixed media, collage work, and art journaling, which is an interesting way to have a spiritual life as well, is to do the kind of journaling that one can do with art.
Were you born with the abilities to do all of those things, or did you have to work some to develop them? I mean, were they naturals?
I think born. However, my mother was a pianist, and she tells me that she used to play the piano a couple of hours a day, and when I was little, she would sit me on her lap. So she said at 9 months old, I was sitting in front of the piano 2 hours a day listening to music, and I think that it really made my ear very clear about hearing notes and tones.
My mother grew up in front of a roller piano, and so she'd watch the keys dance, and that's how she learned to play. And she could play by ear. And in high school, if we could come home and say the Beach Boys have a new song, or the Beatles have got a new song, and it goes so-and-so, and she'd play it for us. The great blessing of all of that, though, for me was, I think, all of that, we just learned to be able to hear harmonies and things.
Yes.
Everybody can just whistle a tune, but there's more to music than all of that, and good music. So
And the harmonies.
yeah,
The harmonies are the
they're
fun part.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So, are you singing at the Experience?
Well, yes, I am. It's actually been really nice and fun to be able to start to sing again, kinds of songs of inspiration and worship.
Does music motivate you and inspire you and lift you?
Very much so.
So do you listen to it frequently?
Yes, a lot. And I think in terms of people and their inspiration and their spiritual connection, that music is a huge part of that. And that when people, even if they can't sing or don't feel they can sing, it's a huge connection to your heart. It takes the feeling and takes it right into your heart.
When I was a child, the McGuire sisters had a recording called He.
Mm-hmm.
He Can Turn the Tide.
Yes.
My father loved that song. And then Mother had a favorite song called I'll Walk with God that was a Mario Lanza song that had been sung in the movie somewhere. And I would hear them humming and whistling those, and I Believe and You'll Never Walk Alone, from Oscar Hammerstein, some of those things. Music just is such a good thing, and yet in today's world we hear so much that's loud and disruptive. What are your goals for the Experience? Where would you like to be, and what would you like to see 5 or 10 years from now?
I would like to see the Experience be a place, a nexus for people who are in a tradition or belief system that want to learn about the traditions and rituals and beliefs of others, as well as a place where people who are spiritual but not religious or spiritually independent can come and find a commonality, a place where we can be together. I think the experience brings to Sacramento a place where you can come to this and, in fact, experience different traditions. So you can experience the different holy times of the different faith traditions. We bring in speakers, we bring in the music from that tradition, and it's a place where you can see how common all belief systems are and how we are all one, how we are united.
So every week, the service is a little different based on a different faith tradition that week.
It is. It is different.
And who decides? Who are you the sole decider of what you get to bring in and what they'll hear, or how is that working out? Is there a group or committee that's sort of finding the way?
At this point, I'm making those recommendations. So I do, and I work with our music director, Jim Jordan, and we come up with. It's interesting because you get to have a blank canvas every week. You get to look at the service and say, what would make this an interesting service? So in the time that I've been there, we've had the imam from Salam has been there doing the call to prayer. We had Lua Hightower there to do Sufi music. We've had Lisa Culp from Women's Empowerment, which was a really special day that she brought some of the women who are enrolled in her program, and we brought donations of women's professional clothing for them and had a wonderful time getting to know them and spending time with them after our service.
They just had their recent graduation,
Yes.
ceremony, and that was a delightful thing. Tell our viewers where you meet, what time you meet, and so they can hear the invitation to come and join with you.
We meet at Pioneer Congregational Church, which is across from Sutter's Fort, and we meet in the community hall, and we meet at 4:04 p.m. on Sundays.
Is there significance to the 4:04? Just you're going to be 4 minutes late, or
David Thompson created the 4:04,
4:04.
and we are keeping that tradition with us, even though he's now not with us. In his retirement, he'll be able to look on our webpage all the time and find it's 4:04. He thought that was a way for people to remember the time.
Now, I haven't seen him for a couple of months, and the last time I talked to him, he was trying to decide where to go. Many in the faith community in Sacramento know Reverend Thompson very well. Is he still in town?
He is still in town. He is planning to move to Canada, and I believe that they are going to be moving somewhere in early November. He's from Canada, and so he'll be going back to his roots, and he is looking at doing some farming.
Wow, good for him. Good for him. Now, what do you see the needs for Greater Sacramento, religiously and spiritually? We are a political climate, a political city with a strong heritage and history and faith. What do you see for our greater area, the metropolitan area?
One of the reasons that I like Sacramento is because we are so diverse in our culture and ethnicity and in our spiritual traditions.
I couldn't agree more.
And I would like to see that we do begin to spend more time with one another, that when people get to experience a different way of worship or a different belief system, it really allows them to stretch and see that we all are the same and have the same core values. And it also allows us to be more comfortable with one another. I think one of the things that is difficult for people is when you go to a tradition that you don't know how to say the words, you don't know what to expect, you don't know why that particular time of year is holy to them, you tend to shy away from it. And I think that I would love to see more of that in the Sacramento area. We've started a program called the Interfaith Caravan, And we're going to, every couple of months, go out to a faith tradition and in a group go to their worship service so that people can have that opportunity to experience different kinds of traditions. Our first one was to Salam, and we went to Friday prayer, and they were welcoming, and it was wonderful, and I encourage people to come with us on the caravan.
That's a nice approach. Way to go on that. The diversity of Sacramento is not necessarily unique to other cities when you talk about Los Angeles or Atlanta or Miami or wherever else. But it is unique, really unique in the West, and particularly, in all of greater Northern California, Southern Oregon, and all those other sorts of things. One of the Interfaith core values says that we believe the people you like and love and come to know you will not hurt. Mm-hmm. And through the years, as we've dug through a lot of different things and been to, a variety of events, if you become really, really good friends, it just makes it easy to be understanding and compassionate and tolerant and decent and honorable and good and all of that stuff. So the experience is doing a good work. That's a way to go. What would you hope? I mean, are you looking for just greater numbers or a greater face in the years to come? What are you hopeful for there?
I would love to see greater numbers. I would like to see us develop different kinds of programs like the Interfaith Caravan, where people who have a tradition can come to us for some things, that we would have a core group that do come to the experience every week. But then other people, as they found programs that they enjoyed or a speaker that they enjoyed. So I'd like more people to know the kinds of programs that they could get at the experience, that they would be able to see.
Now, some people may be still going to their faith at 9 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning and come to the experience at 4:04. That's a lot of fun. And that's good, is it not?
Yes, and that is in fact why Dr. Thompson made it in the afternoon, is so that people who did have a faith tradition that worships on Sunday morning could come to us on Sunday afternoon. And it's a nice time of the day to be able to reflect upon your weekend and kind of get yourself ready for the following week.
I wish more people were involved in interfaith to see and learn and know. Now, if somebody's watching this and they want to make contact with you and invite your caravan to come to them, the website is being shown on the program, yes. And so they click on that and they can make contact, and,
yes.
And away that will go.
And friend us on Facebook.
Oh, good.
We have a Facebook presence, and we put a lot of pictures. If you'd like to see what the experience is like, go on our Facebook page. We had a candlelight labyrinth walk just last week, where people came, and there's a permanent labyrinth in the front of Pioneers Church. So we ringed it in candlelight, and people walk the labyrinth through the evening. There's pictures of that. There's pictures of the imam being there. We had blessing of the pets, and there's pictures of the pets that came to see us that day.
Oh, outstanding. Wide variety of come to God.
Yes.
Come to learn to worship.
Yes.
Let's go back for a minute in that space where between high school and traveling independently. When did you sort of decide, yeah, but I want to go back to God?
I don't feel like I ever left God. I did not have a tradition that I was going to. And ultimately, I ended up at Unity, at Spiritual Life Center, and found that the principles of unity are very interfaith, that they have a lot of the premises of both Western and Eastern traditions, and I liked that. So I was and still am a student of unity. But there just came a point where I have never felt a calling, but I felt the calling to go to seminary. And I felt like I wanted to really deepen my understanding of what I believe God to be, that higher power. And I remember writing in a journal that I wanted to know God, and that for me was more of a direct connection. And so seminary seemed the place to be able to really deepen that connection with God in all the diversity and magnificence that that higher power is.
Where did you find the seminary where you eventually enrolled?
It's a seminary that is out of New York, and it's called One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. There's a number of people from Sacramento who have been enrolled in that program. It's a distance learning program, not an online program. It's one where there's they have an on-site program every month, and then you get the audio tapes and involve yourself in that way. Although this year they have added web cam so that you can actually be there with the rest of the students in New York.
Was that a easy experience or not so easy? Or, I mean, did it go the way you hoped it would?
It was great. I would say to people during the 2 years that everyone should go to seminary. It is, the first year was about learning about all the different traditions and looking at the rituals and the prayers and really immersing yourself in what the different traditions are like and looking very deeply at what you believe, that higher power to be and how that manifests through you and through other people. And I think when you start to really walk that walk, that you have to become your best self, or you are more accountable to yourself to being your best self. And not to say that I wasn't being my best self. My whole career has been around helping people and social services, but this really stepped it up for me and allowed me to look at how there are many paths and one God. And it really focused me to what I call and many call interspirituality, that translineage that takes traditions across all traditions and allows people to enjoy and use the ritual and prayer of many traditions to deepen their own spiritual walk.
That's a nice way to say that. Do you believe in an afterlife?
Yes.
And will we be surprised there, or will we say this is the way I thought it would be?
Well, I guess that depends what you think it is. Since I was a very young child, I have always believed that we, in fact, may come back again and again, because that higher power is all loving and all forgiving. And if we are to be given the opportunity to be forgiven for those things that we do during any given lifetime, we have to have the opportunity to work that through and do that again.
Did you have a favorite teacher anywhere along the way from childhood to college that just sort of just rang your bell and you just sort of said, yeah, that's it?
You know, yes, I did, and it surprises me that this is what came to mind, but I'm just going to tell you who did. I went to Catholic school for the first 4 years, and Catholic school in the early 50s was pretty strict. And in the 4th grade, we had a nun, Sister Anne Marie, who was a young woman, and she would roll up her skirt and tuck it in her rosary bead belt, and she would play softball with us, and she sang with us, and she made learning fun. She made the day exciting, and I think that that was something that I carried with me from her, is that you need to be that light. You need to bring that excitement. to your world.
My fourth grade teacher was a man fresh out of college starting his first teaching assignment, so he was stiff and young and all those other sorts of things. But he emphasized culture for us, art and poetry and music and a lot of other things beyond the reading, writing, arithmetic. And though I wouldn't say that he was my absolute favorite elementary teacher, he taught us best of all. He gave us a lot of really, really good things that normally in a little town we weren't catching on all of that. Now, one of the things we always like to ask is if you could wave a magic wand in the world and fix or replace or do away with or bring to life something that would make our society and humanity better, what would it be?
I guess I would ask that all of us really pay attention to taking care of others as we would take care of ourselves, and that we would become more active in helping those in need, and that we would be very aware of violence and our need to stop being violent in this world.
Great answer. The golden rule applies in all of the religions in a variety of different ways, said about the same each time.
Yes.
Thanks so much to be here with us. It's a pleasure visiting with you.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you. And
Okay.
everybody come to the experience. It's a great place.
Terrific. Thank you.